Ladies, gentlemen, listen. In a world that's louder than it's ever been, where everybody's talking, everybody's posting, everybody's chasing attention, there's one thing that separates the ones who make it from the ones who don't. Silence. Not weakness, not absence. Strategic, focused, disciplined silence. The kind of silence that builds empires behind closed doors while the world's busy running its mouth. You don't need to announce every move. You don't need to tell them what you're about to do. You don't need their applause to validate your path. The truth is, when you're so locked in on your mission, you don't have time to explain yourself. You're too busy becoming the person you promised yourself you'd be, because let's be real, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to hand you the life you keep dreaming about, and every second you spend watching somebody else's highlight reel is a second you steal from your own story. It's easy to get caught up in the noise, the drama, the opinions, but the ones who win, the ones who rise, they've mastered the art of shutting it all out, focusing on themselves, grinding in silence, and letting the results make all the noise. Success isn't a group project. It's not a public poll. It's not a popularity contest. It's about waking up with fire in your soul and moving like nobody's watching. Because most people aren't. Most people are too busy watching the wrong things, chasing the wrong dreams, getting distracted by the wrong people. But you're built different. You were made for more. And you don't need to prove it with words. Prove it with your life. Stop explaining your vision to people who can't see it. Stop begging for support from people too afraid to chase their own potential. Your journey is yours. Your hunger, your discipline, your grind, it belongs to you. Focus so fiercely on yourself that you have no clue what anybody else is doing. Focus so hard on your craft, your growth, your peace, that the noise of the world becomes irrelevant. And when you do, when you put your head down and work like your future depends on it, because it does, you'll wake up one day and realize you became unstoppable. Not because you told them, but because you showed them. This is your year to stop announcing, stop explaining, stop doubting, and start doing. Stay silent, stay sharp, stay relentless. The world won't see you coming, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. In a world addicted to noise, silence has become a rare and underestimated weapon. Every day, people are constantly posting, talking, and announcing their next move, craving attention and validation from others. Social media has made it so easy for anyone to broadcast every thought, every plan, and every minor achievement, turning life into a performance for an audience that barely cares. But the truth is, the ones who truly rise, the ones who build greatness that lasts, are those who understand the power of silence. Not the silence of fear or uncertainty, but the silence of discipline, focus, and inner strength. When you stay silent about your goals, you give yourself permission to fully commit to them without distraction. You stop wasting energy explaining yourself to people who may never understand your vision. You avoid the trap of premature celebration, where you talk about what you're going to do instead of actually doing it. That silence becomes a protective shield around your dreams, guarding them from the negativity, doubt, and unsolicited opinions that can derail even the strongest minds. Silence doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing everything without making noise about it. It's about waking up before the world does and putting in work when no one's watching. It's about sacrificing nights out, skipping empty conversations, and resisting the urge to show off small wins for quick applause. In those quiet hours, something incredible happens. You start building momentum. You start stacking small victories, improving skills, and sharpening your mindset away from the glare of public opinion. And while others are busy being seen, you're busy becoming. There's something powerful about mastering your emotions and impulses enough to stay silent while you're growing. Most people feel the need to talk about their ambitions because it gives them a temporary sense of accomplishment. The moment you tell the world what you plan to do, your brain gets a little hit of dopamine as if you've already done it. But you haven't. Talking about it doesn't build it. Posting about it doesn't manifest it. Only work, discipline, and relentless effort can make it real. By keeping your focus internal and your progress private, you learn to trust yourself more. You stop relying on external validation to fuel your journey. That's when your confidence becomes unshakable because it's rooted in what you know you're building, not in what others think about it. The world can't tear down what it doesn't see coming. They can't criticize, doubt, or sabotage what they don't know exists. That's the edge you gain when you choose silence over spectacle. As you embrace silence, you also sharpen your ability to listen to yourself, to your instincts, and to the lessons life offers every day. Noise distracts you from your inner voice. It pulls you into comparison, envy, and superficial competition. But in silence, you reconnect with what really matters. You realize you don't need to be the loudest person in the room to be the most powerful. You don't need to broadcast your struggle or brag about your hustle. Real growth doesn't need an audience, it needs commitment. In those moments of silence, you face yourself without filters. You identify your weaknesses and confront your fears. You strip away the ego and learn to operate from purpose, not pride. You become so focused on becoming the best version of yourself that you have no time to worry about what anyone else is doing or saying. That's where true personal power is built, in the unseen, unspoken hours when it's just you and your mission. People often forget that some of the most successful individuals didn't talk about what they were doing while they were in the process of doing it. They worked, they sacrificed, they stayed consistent, and when the world finally saw the results, it was undeniable. The silence made the impact even louder when it arrived. It's a lesson worth remembering. The more you say, the more you open yourself up to unnecessary judgment, doubt, and energy, draining conversations. The less you say, the more control you keep over your energy, your focus, and your destiny. So silence isn't a weakness, it's a strategy. It's a sign of inner strength, confidence, and discipline. It shows you have nothing to prove to anyone but yourself. You don't need to tell the world what you're going to do. You just need to do it, and when the time is right, your results will speak volumes in a voice far louder than words ever could. One of the biggest traps people fall into is the constant search for validation. It's a quiet addiction that creeps in unnoticed, fed by likes, comments, compliments, and approval from others. Human beings have an innate desire to feel accepted, to be acknowledged, and to be seen. But chasing validation is a dangerous game because the moment you begin to seek it, you hand over control of your confidence, your peace, and your progress to people who don't live your life, fight your battles, or share your vision. The need for others to approve of what you're doing is one of the fastest ways to slow yourself down, lose focus, and sabotage your potential. People often share their dreams and goals hoping for encouragement, for a pat on the back, for someone to say, yes, you can do it. And while support is valuable, it should never be a requirement. The truth is, most of the time, people won't see what you see. They won't understand why you're so committed to something they can't feel. They'll doubt you because they doubt themselves. They'll criticize you because your ambition threatens their comfort. And if your confidence is built on their approval, you'll crumble the moment they withdraw it. When you stop seeking validation, you free yourself from the exhausting need to be understood. You stop wasting energy explaining your vision to small minds, hoping for applause from people who aren't qualified to judge your journey. Not everyone is meant to see your path. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your transformation. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can redirect all that wasted attention back to where it belongs, on yourself. Validation is temporary. One day they love you, the next they forget you. One moment they cheer for you, the next they doubt you. That's how people are: inconsistent, emotional, and often driven by their own insecurities. If you rely on external validation, you'll live on a roller coaster of highs and lows, your mood and motivation rising and falling based on the opinions of people who have no real stake in your success. The strongest, most resilient people have learned to stop chasing applause. They've built an inner foundation so solid that whether they're praised or ignored, they keep moving forward with the same intensity. When you stop looking outward for permission to pursue your goals, you gain a deeper sense of freedom. You start making decisions based on what feels right to you, not what will earn the approval of others. You become fearless about failing because you no longer worry about who's watching. You understand that progress is personal and that every step you take, whether seen or unseen, matters more than any compliment you could ever receive. Most people never realize how much their lives are controlled by the fear of judgment. They don't take risks, they don't speak their truth, and they don't chase what they truly want because they're too concerned about what others might say. But here's the truth: people are going to judge you whether you succeed or fail, whether you move fast or slow, whether you stay where you are or break every limit. Since judgment is inevitable, you might as well stop letting it influence you. The moment you no longer need their approval, you become untouchable. Your value isn't determined by how many people notice you. It's measured by the quiet work you put in when no one's watching. It's built in the discipline you maintain when no one claps for you. It grows in the solitude of your grind, where you face your doubts, your weaknesses, and your hunger without seeking anyone's permission. That's where true confidence is born, not in the echo of applause, but in the stillness of your own belief. When you truly stop seeking validation, you stop announcing your moves and start making them. You learn to find peace in being misunderstood, in being doubted, in being ignored, because you know deep down that none of it matters. The people who doubted you will either disappear or pretend they always believed in you once the results show up. The people who misunderstood you will eventually see what you were building when you were silent. And the people who ignored you will wish they hadn't. This world is full of people trying to impress strangers, trying to prove themselves to people who don't even think about them. Don't fall into that trap. Focus on what matters to you, validate yourself, approve of your own efforts, respect your own progress, and keep moving, knowing that you don't owe anyone an explanation for chasing what sets your soul on fire. Distractions are everywhere. Every single day, there's 1,000 things competing for your attention: social media notifications, gossip, pointless conversations, the latest trends, other people's opinions, and constant noise from a world obsessed with entertainment and instant gratification. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself caught up in it, wasting hours, days, even years watching other people live their lives while yours stands still. That's the danger of distraction. It disguises itself as harmless entertainment, but it's really a silent thief, stealing your focus, your discipline, and your potential one moment at a time. When you allow distractions to consume your mind, you lose sight of your own mission. You begin comparing your journey to others. You start worrying about things that have nothing to do with your growth. You let small, meaningless issues occupy space in your head that should be reserved for your dreams, your plans, and your next move. The problem is, most people don't even realize how distracted they've become. They wake up, reach for their phones, scroll for hours, and convince themselves they're too tired to chase what they really want. They waste time chasing trends, arguing over nonsense, and chasing attention in a digital world while their real life remains untouched. Distractions aren't always loud and obvious. Sometimes they come in the form of people you think you need, relationships you refuse to let go of, and habits you convince yourself are harmless. They're the conversations you entertain out of politeness, the events you attend out of obligation, and the opinions you allow to linger in your mind long after they've been spoken. Every time you engage in these small distractions, you're trading pieces of your future for temporary comfort, and the price you pay for that is regret. The people who win in life are not the ones with the most talent, the best connections, or the loudest voices. They are the ones who master the ability to lock in, to eliminate distractions, and to focus with an intensity so sharp that nothing can pull them off course. Focus isn't something you find by accident. It's something you fight for. It's something you choose moment by moment, decision by decision. It requires saying no to things that don't serve you, even when they seem tempting, even when everyone else is indulging in them. When you cut out distractions, you start to notice how much time you actually have. You realize how many hours you've been giving away to things that don't matter. That clarity is uncomfortable at first, because it forces you to face yourself, to admit how much you've been holding yourself back. But it's also powerful because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to wasting time without feeling the weight of what you're giving up. There's a discipline that comes with protecting your focus. It's in turning off your phone when you need to work. It's in walking away from conversations that drain your energy. It's in unfollowing people who fill your mind with doubt and negativity. It's in creating an environment that pushes you toward your goals instead of pulling you away from them. And it's in reminding yourself every single day that your future is too important to trade for temporary distractions. Some people will never understand the choices you make when you decide to focus. They'll call you antisocial, boring, or too serious. They won't get why you're not chasing the same things they are, why you're not wasting time with them, why you're no longer interested in conversations that lead nowhere. And that's fine. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your vision, for prioritizing your growth, or for choosing to build something meaningful while others are wasting their time. The world isn't going to slow down. The distractions aren't going to disappear. If anything, they'll only grow louder and more tempting, but you have a choice. Every single day, you can choose what gets your attention. You can choose what conversations you engage in, what content you consume, what thoughts you entertain, and what people you keep close. And those choices, over time, shape the direction of your life. When you master the ability to eliminate distractions, you free yourself to give your full, undivided attention to the things that matter. You become sharper, faster, and more resilient. You stop being reactive to the world around you and start becoming proactive about your future. That's where transformation happens, in the space where focus lives and distractions die. It's not easy, but it's necessary, because the life you want won't be built in the chaos of distraction. It will be built in the discipline of focus. Words are easy. Talking about what you're going to do takes no real effort. It doesn't demand sacrifice, it doesn't require discipline, and it doesn't build character. In fact, one of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that announcing their goals, their intentions, and their next big move somehow counts as progress. It doesn't. Telling people what you're going to do might give you a short burst of excitement, but it's a temporary high that fades quickly because it lacks substance. Real progress comes from doing the work in silence, from grinding behind the scenes, and from letting your results deliver the message you once felt the need to speak. Too many people get trapped in a cycle of constant talking and minimal action. They feel validated just by saying, "I'm going to start this," or "watch what I'm about to do." They gather applause for intentions rather than achievements, and while words might sound powerful in the moment, they mean nothing without action to back them up. The truth is, the people who truly succeed are not the loudest in the room. They don't need to broadcast every step they're taking. They stay quiet, stay committed, and work relentlessly while others are busy making announcements. There's a certain energy that comes from focusing solely on action. When you stop explaining yourself, stop trying to convince people of your worth, and stop laying out your plans for approval, you redirect all of that energy inward. You stop leaking your strength through unnecessary conversations. You learn to channel it into your craft, your discipline, and your mission. That internal focus sharpens your instincts. It heightens your awareness. It teaches you to trust yourself, because now your motivation isn't rooted in what others think. It's built on your own progress. Results are undeniable. You don't have to explain success. You don't need to tell anyone you're leveling up when it's visible in how you move, how you carry yourself, and what you've built. The most powerful people in the world are those who let their actions introduce them. They walk into rooms and people feel their presence before a word is spoken. That kind of energy is only developed in silence, in the grind, in the countless hours nobody sees, when it's just you against yourself. Proving yourself through action forces you to hold yourself accountable. You can talk all day about discipline, consistency, and ambition, but when it comes time to actually show up, that's when it matters. It's easy to look motivated when you're announcing your plans to an audience. It's much harder when the excitement fades, when nobody's watching, and when the work gets difficult. That's the space where most people quit because they were fueled by attention, not by real commitment. But when you've built your path through silent, steady effort, you're unshaken by silence, by setbacks, or by the absence of applause. Working in silence also teaches you patience. You learn that progress isn't always instant. It's built through repetition, through small, consistent actions that eventually compound into undeniable results. And because you're not seeking validation at every step, you become more focused on the process than the outcome. You start to value discipline over motivation, routine over excitement, and consistency over temporary hype. That shift in mindset is where long-term success is born. The most dangerous person in any room is the one who doesn't talk about what they're doing, but whose work speaks for itself. They're underestimated, overlooked, and ignored until their results demand attention, and by the time the world notices, it's too late to catch up. That's the advantage of working quietly. You move without interference. You grow without resistance. You build without distraction. And when the time comes, you arrive fully formed, undeniable, and untouchable. Action builds confidence. Every time you show up for yourself, every time you choose the grind over the hype, you strengthen your belief in your ability to deliver. You realize you don't need anyone's permission to chase what you want. You don't need a crowd to validate your effort. You learn to respect your own grind because you've seen firsthand what it produces, and that kind of confidence can't be faked, borrowed, or bought. It's earned. When you decide to stop talking about what you're going to do and start showing it through relentless, focused action, you separate yourself from the crowd. You move differently. You think differently. You command a different kind of respect, not because you asked for it, but because you earned it. The world listens to results. The world watches outcomes, and nothing, absolutely nothing, speaks louder than the work you've put in when no one else was watching. Your journey is yours alone. No one else was given your exact vision, your specific set of dreams, or the inner fire that keeps pushing you forward even on your hardest days. Too often, people make the mistake of expecting others to understand their ambitions, their sacrifices, and the reasons behind the choices they make. They waste precious time trying to explain their goals to people who aren't meant to see it, hoping for validation or approval that never truly comes. What they don't realize is that not everyone is equipped to understand a dream that wasn't placed in their heart. When you constantly seek understanding from others, you start to compromise parts of yourself just to be accepted. You shrink your vision so it's easier for others to digest. You water down your goals so they don't intimidate the small-minded. You hesitate on decisions because you're waiting for someone to tell you it's okay. But the truth is, you don't need their understanding. You don't need their approval. You need your own belief, your own discipline, and your own relentless focus on the path you've chosen. Because at the end of the day, no one is going to live your life for you. No one else is going to fight your battles, wake up for your grind, or endure your sacrifices. This journey belongs to you and you alone. It's a hard lesson for people to learn because human nature craves connection. We want to feel supported, to be surrounded by people who believe in us, and to share our excitement with those we care about. But not everyone will celebrate your ambition. Some will doubt you because your vision threatens their comfort zone. Some will envy you because your discipline exposes their excuses. Some simply won't understand because they don't see what you see. And that's perfectly fine. It's not their job to see it. It's yours. When you accept that your journey is personal, you stop wasting time trying to convince people to join you. You stop getting frustrated when they don't support you or believe in your dreams. You stop explaining your moves to people who are too caught up in their own limitations to understand yours. That mental freedom is powerful. It allows you to focus entirely on what matters: your work, your progress, and your evolution. It removes the weight of outside expectations and clears space for the things that actually move you forward. The truth is, there will be seasons in your life when you feel alone. When it seems like no one understands the sacrifices you're making, the choices you're committed to, or the long hours you're investing in your growth. That loneliness isn't a sign you're on the wrong path, it's a sign you're doing something most people aren't willing to do. Growth is often a solitary process. Progress requires isolation, and in those quiet, difficult moments you learn who you really are. You learn what you're made of when no one is clapping for you, when no one is offering encouragement, and when no one even notices how hard you're working. That's where character is built. That's where real confidence is forged, because when you stop relying on external validation, you start cultivating inner strength. You realize that you don't need an audience to stay committed. You don't need applause to keep grinding. You don't need constant reassurance to stay loyal to your vision. You become your own source of motivation, your own reason for pushing forward, and your own accountability partner. That independence is rare, and it's what separates those who dream from those who build. Most people live their lives according to the expectations of others. They chase degrees, careers, and lifestyles not because they truly want them, but because they're trying to satisfy family, friends, or society, and then they wake up years later, full of regret, realizing they built a life for everyone else except themselves. Don't let that be your story. Protect your journey, trust your process, make decisions that serve your future, not the opinions of people who won't be there when it gets difficult. The people meant for you will find you on the path. They'll respect your hustle even if they don't fully understand it. They'll admire your discipline even if they can't match it. But don't pause your progress waiting for them. Don't adjust your speed so others can keep up. Move at your pace, follow your gut, stay loyal to the vision that was placed in your heart, because this path you're walking, no matter how lonely it gets, was designed specifically for you. And every step you take, no matter how misunderstood it feels right now, is leading you toward a future no one else was meant to claim. Silence is one of the most powerful weapons you can carry in a world addicted to noise. Every day, people broadcast their opinions, their insecurities, their achievements, and their struggles for public approval. Everyone's trying to be seen, trying to be heard, trying to get a reaction. And in that constant flood of noise, very few ever stop to recognize the undeniable strength that comes from choosing silence. Not the kind of silence that signals weakness, but the kind that speaks of focus, of discipline, of unshaken confidence. It's the silence of the person who doesn't need to explain themselves because their work, their growth, and their discipline will speak when the time is right. Silence gives you control. When you don't reveal your thoughts, your plans, or your next move, you hold the advantage. You stay unpredictable in a world that loves predictability. People can't interfere with what they don't know. They can't criticize what they can't see, and they can't block moves they never saw coming. That is the tactical strength of moving in silence. While others announce every idea, every plan, and every intention, you quietly execute. And by the time they realize what you've built, it's too late for them to stop it. There's something incredibly valuable about guarding your energy. Every time you speak unnecessarily, every time you argue to prove a point, and every time you announce a plan for validation, you're leaking your energy into places that won't return it. Silence preserves that energy. It keeps your strength internal, where it can be used to fuel your progress rather than wasted on distractions. You learn to stop explaining your decisions, stop defending your vision, and stop reacting to every opinion that crosses your path. Not because you're passive, but because you've outgrown the need to participate in conversations that don't align with your mission. Silence also protects your peace. In a world where drama, gossip, and pointless arguments thrive, choosing not to engage is a rare discipline. When you refuse to respond to negativity, when you choose to let people talk without offering them a reaction, you gain a level of inner peace most people never experience. Because the truth is, people thrive on pulling you into their chaos. They want to distract you, provoke you, and drag you down to their level. Silence denies them that power. It teaches you to remain calm in storms, to stay focused in conflict, and to rise above noise that would have once derailed you. When you move in silence, your actions become louder. People start noticing the results you didn't announce. They begin to see changes you didn't explain, and that's far more impactful than any speech you could have given. There's a certain respect that comes from letting your work introduce you. Because when your success arrives without warning, without public hype, and without explanation, it demands attention. It forces people to reevaluate you, to recognize the discipline they overlooked, and to respect the grind they never saw. Choosing silence also sharpens your focus. It eliminates unnecessary conversations, removes meaningless distractions, and forces you to prioritize what truly matters. You stop wasting time trying to manage other people's perceptions. You stop chasing applause for effort and start chasing results. And in that space, you become more strategic, more disciplined, and more relentless. You start doing what needs to be done without seeking credit. And you realize that real satisfaction comes not from the recognition, but from the quiet knowledge that you stayed true to your mission. People underestimate those who are quiet. They mistake silence for weakness, for passivity, or for indifference. But in reality, it often signals strength, discipline, and focus. The loudest in the room aren't always the ones making moves. More often, it's the quiet ones, the ones you don't hear coming, who are building, growing, and leveling up while others are too busy talking. That's the advantage of silence. It gives you the freedom to operate without interference, to fail without an audience, and to succeed without permission. In silence, you learn to listen, not just to others, but to yourself. You become more in tune with your instincts, more aware of your thoughts, and more disciplined in your choices. Without the noise of constant conversation, you're able to hear the voice that truly matters, your own. And in that clarity, you find direction, you find confidence, you find power. There's a different kind of strength in knowing you don't need to explain yourself, in knowing your path, your purpose, and your worth without waiting for confirmation from others. When you master the discipline of silence, you become unshakable. You move without fear, without distraction, and without the need for approval. And while the world talks, you build. While others argue, you rise. And when the time comes, your results will be so undeniable that they'll speak louder than anything you ever could. In the end, the only competition that truly matters is the one between who you are and who you have the potential to become. This journey isn't about proving yourself to others, chasing applause, or seeking approval. It's about locking in on your purpose, staying silent when you need to, removing distractions, and letting your work speak volumes in a world obsessed with noise. You don't owe explanations to people who can't see your vision. You don't need to announce your every move. Stay focused, stay disciplined, stay relentless. Because the ones who rise, the ones who build legacies, and the ones who create undeniable impact are always the ones who moved in silence, focused on themselves, and allowed their results to do all the talking. This is your time. Protect your peace, guard your energy, and own your path unapologetically.